Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us on the eve of this historic marriage equality milestone. At any moment, and I literally mean at any moment, we're going to be announcing the 10,000th same-sex couple married in Cook County. And right on. Thanks to the people behind me. But first, the people behind me, of course, know that the struggle for social justice is often long and painful, and the LGBT activists have been fighting for equality for a long, long time. Some who've led this critical fight will be speaking today, and others I want to mention that couldn't join it, but Sarah Feigenholz got called away at the last moment. I'm not sure if Teresa Volpe and Mercedes Santos will be coming in, but we also have Jim Darby and Patrick Bova. Jim, Patrick. Okay, thank you for being here. We have Brenda Lee and Lee Edwards. And we have Amy Crawford. And others that I'm not, do I have all the names? But hopefully we'll get you in just a minute. So now we have a few speakers, and we'll be quick, and then we'll take any questions. Our first speaker is Pat EWERT. Pat and her partner were the first same-sex couple married in Cook County. Back in November 2013, Judge Durkin, thank you, Judge Durkin, ruled that she and her partner, VERNITA Gray, should not have to wait to get married because VERNITA had a terminal illness. Sadly, VERNITA did pass away, but fortunately, Pat is with us here today. Okay, Pat EWERT.
Good morning. My wife, VERNITA, and I, my late wife, VERNITA Gray, and I, had the honor to be the first same-sex couple to be married in the state of Illinois, and it's an unbelievable honor to be here, knowing that the 10,000th is going to be coming. My wife, VERNITA, used to say that in the 40-plus years that she was out, at the very beginning, the words gay and marriage were never even used in the same sentence. And look at what we've accomplished today, and we've accomplished this because of wonderful people like Representative Harris, Senator STENS, Representative Cassidy, those wonderful people at Lambda. I know that VERNITA is looking down and smiling right now, and I'm guessing she's doing a little dance too. Thank you very much. I appreciate this honor.
In Illinois, you know, we had two major victories. Okay, the court victory, that's amazing when you think about it. Who would have said that 10 years ago? The court victory, we want to thank a big shout out to Judge Sharon Johnson Coleman. That ruling opened up the door, but we also had an amazing legislative victory.
So it is hard to believe that it was just a couple years ago that Illinois became the last state in the union to legislatively pass marriage equality before the Supreme Court stepped in. And we know what a hard struggle it was even to get to that point. But that struggle has brought so much joy to so many families. It's brought wonderful kids and wonderful moms together. But it has also meant so many important things to couples in their day-to-day lives that straight people have taken for granted for years. And just coming in here today, I got this little gift. I got just a little candy bar from a man, who is sick and just out of the hospital, whose husband, because now they're married for the first time, was able to come and visit him in the hospital and be able to even pick up a prescription drug for him from a pharmacy. And to think that a couple years ago, these were things that families could not do for each other because the law of Illinois forbid it. So it is a wonderful, wonderful thing. But we also have got to remember how fragile these victories are. We have a candidate for President of the United States who has repeatedly said he wants to choose Supreme Court justices who would roll back marriage equality. That's after he's done building his big wall. In Illinois, we're still struggling for trans rights, that transgender kids are still denied many rights that other children have. So there are still fights to be fought, and I look at the people behind me, who are such heroes and such leaders, and look forward to winning those too. So thank you.
Okay, next, again, I mentioned, or maybe I didn't, but Kelly Cassidy, who's also did a wonderful job with Greg in winning this battle in the House, got called away at the last minute. So we thank her for all she's done. But now moving to the Senate, okay, who first introduced the marriage equality bill, I believe, back in '09, and then the chief sponsor of the successful bill is State Senator Heather STENS.
So Carl Sandburg once said, "Nothing happens unless first a dream." And I really just want to thank so many people for having this dream out there and really making this possible to finally get full marriage equality. It took a lot of work from a lot of people. Lambda, ACLU, and Equality Illinois, our 3 organizations are here today, but there were so many grassroots folks, individuals telling their stories. It was not easy going from civil unions to marriage equality. We forget that. There were a lot of bumps along the road. We certainly, I know Greg and I both had many people telling us I could do civil unions, won't get to marriage equality, and yet all those hearts and minds were changed. Short period of time. Certainly the president coming out supporting full marriage equality I think was hugely helpful in our being able to do it legislatively. But really it was so many advocates around the state just telling their stories, working with their legislators and changing those hearts and minds. Love is love. It's really happy to be here and have so many people being able to celebrate the fact that love is love. Thank you.
There's such wonderful legislators, and they're so brief. It's just amazing. Now, our friend Mike Quigley is next. Now, Mike had a vision a long time ago. Many of you remember Mike Quigley was a county commissioner for a long time and introduced lots and lots of reforms, but he also was instrumental in building toward this, introducing domestic partnerships, working with us to get civil union status. So we appreciate all Mike's work, and he's a fervent activist supporter for this cause for a long time. Congressman Mike Quigley.
Thank you, David. And I want to thank David for his work back then, and Greg Harris and Heather and all the sponsors who made this happen. It is a day to think back a little bit as well as to where we were. My first bill that we passed at the county, all it did was provide health care benefits to the domestic partners of county workers. And it was unbelievable. It only passed by one vote, right? Only passed by one vote. I mean, by the skin of its teeth. We can go back a little further and remember that in the early days in the city council when this was introduced, literally the community was hooted out of the chambers, booed out of the chambers, taunted, ridiculed, right? And if you go further back and you think about marriage equality, it was in our lifetimes that Loving versus Virginia had to be resolved, right? The message through all of this is love is love, and love shall persevere through all of these. And I'm just so happy for those who had that opportunity to share such an extraordinary thing. But I tell my friends who were against this, who were, in their minds, arch-conservatives, you know, an arch-conservative's view of government is less government, and we shouldn't intrude in people's lives. What could be more intrusive than telling someone who they should love and how they should express this love? So we walk on the shoulders of those who came before us and those that I'm honored to sit with today toward these ends. As Dr. King said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. And as others have mentioned, we are not through, because I believe that love is stronger and love is more resilient. But haters hate, and the resiliency of hate is unfortunate, and every once in a while, as you see it pops up its ugly head. We have to fight against that and see the beautiful light that is expressed here today. So thanks to all those who made this a reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Quigley. I guess you remind us that 10,000-mile journey starts with one step, and a lot of good steps along the way. Next, we have Deborah MELL, member who was a state senator, fighting these fights for a long time. State rep, I'm sorry.
Okay. He gave you a promotion.
Or not.
Well, or not. The state reps are closer to the people. But Deb, who was a state rep and now is a Chicago alderman, she's been a big-time supporter and activist on this for so long. We thank you, Deb MELL.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's so good to be here. When I heard that we were approaching this milestone, it was truly amazing. So I was thinking a little bit back on when I was back in the House and we were fighting for this. And, you know, I'll be forever grateful to Greg Harris and Heather Steens and Kelly Cassidy, who got this over the goalpost, as they say. Amazing legislators, and it was truly an honor to be part of the process with you. I was thinking back on when Heather was talking about changing hearts and minds, that I would bring my my then wife back down on the House floor, right? And we would go say hi to fellow legislators, and we wouldn't talk about, you know, rights or anything. We would talk about, yeah, we're at, you know, what are you doing for Thanksgiving? You know, I'm going to Kristen's house at her family, and we just tried to kind of change hearts and minds that way by saying, we're more alike than we are different. And I remember, I'll never forget it, I brought Kristen down, and there was this Republican representative who was introducing me to a freshman representative, and she goes, this is, Rep Mel, and this is her wife, Kristen. And she used the language, right? And I thought, well, we're onto something here, because, she didn't vote for the bill, she didn't get up and rally against it, and, so you have your legislators, you have your hardcore activists, but you also have the couple downstate who is living outwardly and openly and proud, and that's how we change minds. And, we have made a huge leap. As Greg says, we still have, a lot to do. So I'm really proud to be here, and thank you, David Orr, for your support. I mean, you've been a champion of this forever, and I know how hard it was for you when you couldn't issue those licenses, and so I'm just really proud to be here. Thanks.
Thank you, Deb. We have, we have, of course, elected officials that you've heard from and many others that support the cause. But there was 3 gangbuster groups, just wonderful organizations that have been instrumental in this success over the years, particularly the court fights as well as legislative victories. So first, let's hear from John Knight, representing the ACLU, and all the great work they did to win this case. John Knight.
So I have to say it's wonderful to be here with so many wonderful people who worked so hard to get to this place. And it was, as Representative Harris said, it's the work of many years that got us to this place. I'm so happy that the ACLU had a part in filing lawsuits with our partners at Lambda Legal and in getting marriage, also in working with Senator STENS and Representative Harris through the legislature, and getting it even sooner through the court battles that Pat and VERNITA led, and that some other wonderful, courageous couples helped us bring to the finish line in terms of making marriage available in February as opposed to June. So many couples who really needed to get married right away because of health issues were able to do so because of that work and the courage of those couples. But then many couples who just wanted to. There was no reason to wait, as Judge Johnson ruled. The other thing that I thought was important to point out here, as we celebrate the courageous couples and the many activists who fought for this battle, is how much work remains to be done. The transgender community has been fighting for fairness for all of us. They were fighting for marriage and non-discrimination all along the way, and yet there's so much that they don't have at the moment in terms of fair treatment in schools, in employment, and in so many aspects of the way they're treated with discriminatory ways. So there's much left to do, and we're happy to be working with such wonderful couples and advocate groups in fighting the remainder of that fight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John, and I now forgive you for suing me. That was a good one to sue, though. Okay, next we have representing Lambda Legal, another great organization, is Christopher Clark.
Thank you. I just want to say I could not be more proud of Chicago and of Illinois today. Standing in front of all of these people who made this possible is an absolute honor. I learned so much about activism, about politics, about doing the right thing, about standing on the right side of history from all of these people and from the people who couldn't be with us today. So thank you, and I'm incredibly proud. I specifically want to thank David Orr and his office for working so closely with the community to help implement the law that was passed that extended marriage equality to everyone. I want to thank our state representatives and senators for fighting the good fight and not backing down and not stopping until we won. But most of all, I want to thank the people who stood up and told the stories of their families. And they're with us today, and they were my fantastic and fabulous clients through the legal battles. And it takes enormous courage to be able to share the kind of personal details of your life with strangers to make the right thing happen. And the people who are standing with me today did that at every opportunity. They spoke to reporters. They allowed me to tell their stories in court. They marched into state representative offices with people who they did not know and said, "This is my family, and tell me why I should not have the freedom to marry." And I want to thank all of you for doing that. It's incredible courage. And we wouldn't be here today. And then the last thing I wanted to say, which is echoing what other people said, is we are not done, and we are not going to stop until true freedom is extended, especially to the young members of our community. The young adults, the teens, the children, the people who are still bullied in school, who are discriminated in school, and it is certainly our pledge to continue fighting the good fight until those young people have the rights, the fairness, the freedom that they're entitled to. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Now, finally, we have the CEO of Equality Illinois, Brian Johnson, who is also one half of couple 9,191. He and his partner, Toby, were married this May. Okay, Brian Johnson.
3 years ago, I first met Toby on a hot July Friday night in a hotel lobby on the corner of Clark and Grand. And while it was in that first moment, seeing his smile, that I began to fall for him, it took me all the way through the end of dinner to realize that this was probably the man I would spend the rest of my life with. Like so many Illinoisans over the past decades, when Toby and I met and began falling in love, the right to be legally married was not an option. As our relationship deepened and grew, we focused on building a life that reflected our love and our values, with little thought about what the state-granted options for our future might be. When Governor Quinn signed marriage equality into law in November of that first year of our dating, nothing about our love, about our relationship, changed. But on that day, the heart of Illinois grew to encompass more of its sons and daughters. On May 14th of this year, in our neighborhood church in Lakeview, as was said, Toby and I became same-sex couple number 9,191 to be married in Cook County. And it fills me with such pride for Illinois that we are the last wave of married couples who will have to tell the story that when we first met, marriage was not a legal option for our future. And while part of me is proud that we are couple 9,191, I look forward to the day in the not-so-distant future when we lose track of the number of same-sex couples who marry, and that Illinois simply rejoices in how many families we call our own. Thank you.